Welcome, everybody, to a very, very special Emergency 9, the final major of the PGA 2018-2019 season. We have small bad news, but hopefully really great news. The bad news is Bucks got called into a work deal. I believe he is going to be on the YouTube chat to the side with you guys as soon as he can, but he could not make the video. But I was able to reach out to a buddy who actually there's been some correlation between both of my guests this week because of a certain co-host, Mr. Mayo. I got, as usual, Tambo at Toe Tagging Tambo on Twitter, and a very, very special guest at Jeff Feinberg, Mr. Feinberg. How are you guys doing tonight? Jeff, welcome. I'm glad you're here. This is going to be fun. I know you're not huge DFS, but we're talking everything on this. This thing may go all over the place, and you're as good as it gets on golf. So pleasure to have you. How are you doing tonight in lovely Canada?
I'm doing fabulous. Happy to be here, Gup. Happy to throw down with you guys. Fired up. Open Championship. Let's give her.
Tambo, have you sought out counseling yet from your Mayo episode, or are you good? How are you doing? I think you blew up Twitter yesterday.
I definitely did, and I blew up my own mentions. I couldn't get mentions like that if I tried. So I'm excited, man. It's a final major actually of the decade that we're about to be celebrating here, and moving on from there. And Feinberg, who else gets on with Mayo and Feinberg on the same week when they have the coveted dual show? So I'm feeling good. No such thing as bad publicity, I was told growing up. So pumped about it, all the community behind it. I thought it was fucking hilarious, to be honest. And I'm happy to be here with y'all.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I don't know if you guys have the ownership pulled up, but I want to start there just to see if anything pops out. Jeff, I know we kind of got you on late, so if you need an email with JB, can get it to you. But if not, I'll go through just the top five. You guys give me your initial thoughts. We got Rory. This is top five at the 10K and above. I'll go through top five overall in a second. But out of the big boys, it's kind of going to be a focus for a second. Rory, then Brooks, then Rahm, then DJ, then Tiger. Rory's 18%. Brooks and Rahm are right at 15%. DJ at 12.5%. And Tiger at less than 8%. Jeff, what hits you first when you hear that?
Let me just get better set up here. I'm not surprised at the Tiger ownership. I mean, I died on the hill of thinking your projection would probably be wrong at the Masters. And I thought there's no way people wouldn't own him. And you were sort of bang on. He wasn't as owned as I thought he would be, but I think the guys that are playing, I know there's a lot of like blind Tiger love out there, but I'm not surprised at that. And I'm happy to see, I know you'll get into it a lot, Gup, and you've talked about it a lot on your services. Of those guys in that region, I would favor DJ. Again, I always seem to favor DJ. I'd have mud on my face for thinking that over Brooks at least some of the majors this year, certainly, as well as Dustin has played. But I don't know. Give me Dustin. Something's got to break there. Something. I forbid. I don't know. I can't. I don't believe Brooks is as good as he's being. I just can't believe that to continue.
I'll hold my thoughts first. Tambo, let me know what's that. What sticks out to you? Anything pretty much as you expected, or what? What do you think?
Yeah, I thought you were going to ask me to rank them. I ain't doing that, but no, it stands out. You know, Jeff hit the nail on the head. Tiger, like, I'm a fan. I know we all are. If he goes on to win, good for him. I'll be excited. With him, I don't really like the fact that he didn't play in so long. He went over to Thailand with his family, which is awesome, but he just didn't pick it up. And he's going to try. I don't see it look at the competition around him. The one thing that stands out is, to Jeff's point, and what you're about to bring up, is that DJ's lower than a guy like Rahm, when I feel like Rahm is at his ceiling price for a major because of the recent form and the win, obviously, in Ireland and so on and so forth. But, for DJ, the biggest thing that I'm going to talk about, and if anyone wants to talk about it, we can, is this, Brandel Chambly. You posted it on your Twitter. You're talking about the best major season of all time, possibly up against Tiger, who has it. If Brooks finishes worse than 35th this week and DJ wins, DJ actually had a better major season than Brooks. And that's really what it comes down to me. So DJ at 10-9, to me, that's the lowest price I've ever seen him in a major. I'm all over that. And I still like Rory, narratives and quote unquote chalk aside. I'm still going to play him too. That's the two guys I like in that range.
And explain what you mean by best. You're just adding up the finishing positions and getting a total number like Chambly did, right?
Yeah, I don't even think it's true.
Yeah.
Like I said,
I was just, I was wondering.
Yeah, to his argument, I'm saying it's going under the radar that DJ has 2 seconds on the year as well and a 35th. So if Brooks comes worse than 35th and DJ wins, DJ would actually have a better season than Brooks based on those averages.
Yeah, because I agree. Well, it's pretty simple for me. It's not even close for me. Not even close for me this week. I may, for the first time ever, and I've never, ever won 100% anybody, I may lock DJ tonight. Without a doubt, he'll be my highest own. Not even close. I've never been on Brooks. I'm not a big Brooks guy, but his skill, I mean, I can't deny what he's done. I'm leaning closer to Feinberg on, you know, and actually Chambly said the same thing last night. He goes, are we going to look back? Remember when Rory had his little run, Spieth had his little run, not as great as Brooks, but are we going to look back and, you know, if he does nothing for the next 2.5 years, not wins a major once, then it's like, oh, it was a little moment. Let's pump the brakes on the Tiger comparisons or anybody else. I think it's amazing. I do think at some point, and I would think more this week than ever before, his lack of consistent preparation will catch up to him in a major. He's been able to overpower courses and be there. You're not going to overpower this course this week. That's not this style of golf. So I'm not really going to be on Brooks. I'm all in on DJ, right? And to get him at 16-1, I mean, everybody in the community knows that we got – when it dropped to 16, I hammered it. And I don't do that very often. Actually, the only other time I did it was, I think, AT&T last year, and DJ was like 8-1, and I hit it, and he won maybe 2 years ago. But I know Jeff's the same way. He doesn't really go to that high number, that low number down the board a lot. But 16-1 for DJ is asinine type numbers to me. So I love the number. I'm on him. I do like Rory. Jeff, what do you think? Does the local hype, the pressure, all that factor in at all? Or he knows the course as good as anybody factor in? Or what do you think about Rory?
I think there's a very fine line with Rory this week. If he gets off to a hot start, we've seen him, he could ride that momentum. He did that at his Open Championship victory. I don't know if it was quite wire to wire, but it might have been. At least by early on Friday, he was in the lead, and I don't think he ever look back, even if it got close at moments, at times. To me, there are just so many variables. I'm going to just quickly speak from like a betting perspective mainly. There are just so many variables in play this week that make it hard for me to back him. The variable of I don't think there's an elite player in the world that gives away, even when he's like on fire, seems to give away a stroke around, maybe even a stroke and a half. Maybe I'm over exaggerating, but of those truly elite players, I think he's on 12th there. On top of that, this also goes to the Brooks part of it, why I'm kind of afraid of all these guys at the very top, Gup and Tambo, is you could get EVR'd so goddamn quickly. And what I mean by that is like, what happened to him on the second hole after making a birdie on one on Sunday to get one shot behind a leaky Wiesberger. Yep. That can happen to you. And I don't know if I got to break it down for people in the chat, but you just get into a weird spot by a bad break where 4 inches to the left, 4 inches to the right, you're probably making a bogey. And it takes him like 4 out of a bunker. And he makes a snowman on a par 4 on the second hole on Sunday. That can happen I know that can happen to any course, any time, but to me that variable is so much bigger here. But for Rory, it's that fine line. Either if it's not going well, he's going to feel that pressure. And those 4 or 5 footers that sometimes he gets leaky with will feel like 9 and 10 footers. But if he gets rolling, that couple feel like a barn door. So I hope he stays quiet as long as possible because I'm not really invested in him, to be honest.
No, and I said that in my final thoughts tonight that I just posted. Apologize for not getting out early, but being that we're going 2 hours early, it was hard to get everything out on time, but or early enough for you guys to look at it. I know you guys are looking at the heat maps and everything. We're going to get into that. I see all the questions coming, but that's what I said was you really, which will probably keep me from going like 100% DJ if I was doing 20, 30 lineups. It's just with this kind of course and setup and tournament and everything going on, it's so hard to commit, that much. Having said that, my counter to myself kind of in the final thoughts was I'm going to draw the line this week. I'm going to have a tight core. I'm going to have a tight player field, and I'm just going to play who I'm on and hope I get lucky, because you're going to have to get lucky to win this week at some point. Something's going to have to break your way. The right made the cut on the number type guy, and then storms like last year with Justin Rose. That kind of stuff's going to have to happen, and you can't control it. In my opinion, is you don't want to spread yourself out too thin, because then your vulnerability and the volatileness of the course itself really makes it hard to get that one nut lineup through. Tambo, I know you built a lot more lineups than I will. Are you tighter than normal? Same? Or are you going to spread yourself out?
A little bit the same. So to your point, now I'm on 150 lineups, and I'm not done them yet, but I already know the general strategy behind what I'm doing. And this is what I was talking to a buddy about today. Like the pool is going to show up. If you go on Fantasy Labs and look at my pool of guys, you might end up seeing 60 guys, which is way out there. But what I'll do is I'll build around 40 to 45 guys that'll have at least 10, 12%, maybe more. And then I will take some of these, flyers or one-offs with a correlated lineup. So let's say it was a heat map lineup, and I want to fit, like me and Mayo talked about, a Chan Kim. I'm not going to play a bunch of Chan Kim. He'll show up in my pool, but he will only be in a very correlated lineup that I can tell you about. So it may look more than it is, like I'm overexposed, but realistically, it's a 40 to 45-man pool. And again, those are built tight in accordance with, ownership, aggregate ownership, and then sort of all correlated lineups. So I don't have too many guys of the chalk, which we'll get into.
Yep. So we'll hit two things real quick, then we'll go to some questions. Top 4 owned on the board is Kuchar, 24%, Stenson, 23%, Adam Scott, 21%. And then Cantley, Rory are both 18, and then it kind of drops to Matsu. Kuchar, Stenson, Scott, all above. The only ones I have above 20%. Tambo, what's your thoughts there?
Sounds like Mayo asking me again with the same 4 guys, actually. But I'm going to say this. I love your ownerships. I think they're bar none best in the industry. I personally use them. So, that was cool for me being able to partner up and have these. But I think you're light. I'm just looking at it here. I think you're light on Cantlay. I think the rest could go either way. I think Stenson, Kuchar can break either way there, 24, 25. That's not worth it. But I think Cantlay we could see come in closer to 25. He's been much of the talk. He's so easy to fit in. He's one of those guys, and that's what you always got to look out for these things with these major pricings where they do it so soft. He's 9K exact, so he fits every build. You can start a lineup with him and get a bunch of the 8K guys. You can get DJ him. You can get Rory him. You can mix it up completely. So the only guy I think is a little light here is Cantlay. The rest looks pretty sound.
So Feinberg, is there anybody? I don't know how many limes you do on it, but
I'm building with Cantlay right now. So
there you go. Is Kuchar, Stenson? Is Kuchar what is Kuchar to you, Feinberg? Is he just a fade, or he just has such a great history here? He's just not on my radar at all. I mean, he ranks out well. He's going to check boxes. He's got the history. He's top 10 in my model. I'm not against him, but if he's going to be the highest owned, and I had 0 of them at the Masters. One day when he was egregiously priced and way under, I believe that was it. And so is Kuchar, where are you at on Kuchar this week?
I think Kuchar's going to have a fantastic week, a week where he might actually be worth that ownership. I lean more Kuchar than Stenson, but I do totally respect the concept of rolling the dice and fading a guy who will be that popular this week. I do believe in the popularity. He never seems uncomfortable playing links golf. I think his game really does set up for whether it's beautiful out or if it gets ugly. I think he's going to be in play this week. So if I think a guy's going to finish top 5, he's probably worth owning, even if it's 24%. So that would be my decision. I'm also quite high on Cantley this week. I hope others aren't. I hope your light projection would be accurate because I'll be pretty heavy on him. Tambo makes a great point. I don't make enough lineups to really see that unfold. The full construct of it. But he's been quite easy to fit into the lineups I'm trying to make. So maybe he does end up being higher owned. And maybe he's just easy for me to fit in because I really like him and think he's going to have a great week.
No, I think he could be for sure. He could get 20%. Wouldn't shock me. As far as weather goes, and this is going to change. And I'll, as I'm in Slack tonight, I'll update as best I can. I tried to lay out the chart in the player chart that I posted so that no matter if the weather adjusts, you can still see, the guys in the player chart where they line up in order. So if it moves up an hour or down an hour on your own, you'll be able to kind of look at it. So hopefully that helps. Right now I got really early in the morning and then the last, call it 7 groups of the day being the best quote unquote draws to the weather. I said this in the final thoughts. I don't think the weather is that spread out, that big of a variance at any point in time that it's worth just fading someone or whatever, but it helps just knowing how everybody lines up, where they fit in the draw of the weather right now. Even those first 3 or 4 groups all have pretty good draws. Then after that, it's still decent. Really right now it looks like the wind and rain potentially picks up to the highest, more the wind than anything, about 10 o'clock local time. So I kind of have it going a little harder there. About 11 o'clock starts picking up. And then from 12 o'clock local till 1:30 is really right now shown to be the strongest winds, the strongest gusts. Not only that, coupled with the Friday tee time that correlates to this. That's one of the deals I factored in is not only their Thursday, but when would they play Friday, which is why I like the later guys because I think they'll have the best draw as it stands today, Friday morning, going out earlier. So the combination of both their tee times is why I kind of gave them some credit. And then late Friday kind of looks like late Thursday where things die down. One thing I really do like right now, again, I know we'll repeat that over and over, about 245-3, which is when you got Rose, Finau, Lucas, DJ, Dave, Bradley, Walt. So just some studs there. Reed, Tiger, Rahm, Kuchar, Cantley. That's all those groups. The wind shifts back to what they've been practicing in Monday and Tuesday, back to the north. That's what it shows right now. So pay attention to that on that first chart. I probably should have put a note, but hopefully you guys come to the chat and figure it out. But so the wind they've been playing in has been the north-northwest. You'll notice early as the storm's coming in, it's south-southwest, moving west, and then it'll flip. When it flips is when that money spot is, which was kind of the final factor for me right now is why I love DJ so much because it lined up perfectly with his tee time, along with some other studs that are there. So there's plenty to choose from. It does have Brooks at the worst weather draw right now. He's kind of the biggest name. Fleetwood's there. Again, there's no one there that I would, EVR is a guy I love this week, but, is it going to put me off of him? No, it's just a tiebreaker deal. I mean, it is what it is. Obviously, if you can stay up as late as you can, it's going to be to your benefit. I did this because we had so many people asking for it. I did it last year. And then, if it does shift, at least this template and format lets you kind of move it. So we can reference that. We're going to go into the chat now. If you've been asking questions, there's 1,000 messages, so I'm not going to scroll back. So just write them back. But the first thing I'll say, if you guys want me to give away that $700 tonight, I need a whole bunch of like buttons because we got 300 people in here and 92 likes. So if we don't get those likes up, I'll just give the money out to someone else. All right. Who's a chalk bomb? I don't know. Wrong live chat. Go find the Tour Junkies. Love those guys, but I have no idea. So if someone knows it, they can tell me, but I don't. Neiman or Furyk. Neiman's looking a little chalky, but I think he's going to be the guy that everybody thinks is going to be high, so they fade him and he comes in lower. So I think he'll be 7%. I got Furyk 5%. I love both. If I had to pick one, it'd be Neiman. What about you, Tambo?
I'll take Furyk. I've listened to everything. I know you guys got the love for Neiman, and I know Buck says free square. Only thing that worries me about him a little bit is, sort of the younger gun, first time coming in. Like Jeff said, you can get a wrong bounce and it's all over. And for someone with very little experience in something like this, I think he's a super talent. Das Wonder Kid for a reason, but I don't know if this is the spot for him. I like some of the other guys there, but I would take Furyk over him.
Jeff?
Furyk for me. I just feel like more unknowns he might be able to deal with. The course sort of sets up for him. Anyway, give me Furyk.
What is your thoughts on, I don't know how to say his last name, Lorenzo Vera? I know Mayo's talked about him a lot. Jeff, do you have any thoughts on him?
I can't stand the visors he wears, so that's my main thought on him. So that's the first thing. But he's been quite consistent. I feel like he makes cuts at like an insane clip. There are other guys there that I don't know. Sullivan might be more popular, but give me Sullivan. I might even be willing to gamble on Grillo in that range right there.
Grillo's a guy that'll climb if this weather holds and it's going to be nasty wet. Grillo climbs our rankings. Tambo, you like any Vera?
Yeah, a couple things real quick. Shout out Hani Olo in the chat, and he's a member. Obviously, it's a members only thing, but sent me a thing on Lorenzo Vera, and he's a big Euro guy. Made his last 10 cuts, 4 top 10s, 6 top 20s, worst finish of 48th, T16 at the PGA Championship, so it's not just weaker Euro fields. Great putter, and probably not more owned than 5%. To me, that sounds like a play. I already had him in a few lineups. He sent me that today. I thought that would be even better. Put him on the chat and talk about him. But the guys you just mentioned, Jeff, actually with Sullivan and Grillo, two guys I like, over like the Wiesberger, who, he showed up again. Recent form, both times, Wiesberger's win, the average field under par was huge. Like, it wasn't like it was set up like these conditions. So I like moving to those guys, and they're actually both Gup in your draw for the very early tee times. So even using the heat maps, and I'm talking to the community here, everyone's going to stack 6 guys up from 248 on when they see Justin Rosen down on the heat map. You can put four of those guys with like a Sullivan and a Grillo and still switch it up a bit from what anybody who's doing wave stacks across the industry, where they're going to do either all morning or all afternoon, swap it out. But those are 2 full green blocks that got posted out for us. So just 2 plays I like there as well, to Jeff's point, to your rankings.
Right, and that's important. And we talked about it last year, but the British Open is not a traditional off the front, off the back split, so it's not a true wave deal. And that's why it's important to do what I've done with the heat maps. These guys just rolled off from 6 something to 4 o'clock. There's also, remember, a ton of sunlight out there, way longer than what we're used to in America. Like, it goes to like 9:58, I think, sunset. But
it's crazy, like how long those Irish Opens or what time like those were going to. Just use that as a corollary. That thing, even without the playoff last week, that thing was ending at like 2:30, 3 o'clock Eastern.
Yeah, I mean I knew that, but I always forget because I don't pay attention to it enough. And I was like, man, I forgot that these guys go forever. So there's not an AM PM split. It really comes down to the tee time, which makes it harder when you're talking about weather. I mean, because you're not going to have just a full blown, full advantage AM PM. Hopefully the weather match gives our community an advantage. So here's a guy Brandon Wu's a guy that, in my Millie setup, which I think I may do 25, 30 lineups. I'm not going to do anything crazy. I'll have some of them. I love him. I think he's not quite Wolf Hovland type, but the kid's pretty damn good. Any thoughts on Brandon Wu, Tambo?
I see you got him low M. I don't hate it. I also like that he falls within the that same map I just talked about with Grillo and Sullivan. So I definitely like him. I personally saved like 50 lineups to do for after this, where we could have our chat and get things out and see sort of what you bring out and just different takes. And then I'll take it and mix it all up and put it together. So I don't mind Brandon Wu for some Millie, but one thing I will say, strategy talk right quick, just to bring it up. I see this a lot, and people have been talking about it all week. When you find your super sleeper, don't just jam them with the 8K range. And I think that's a big mistake that people make. Like, the reason I say it, and I want to explain it right quick, is that the 8K range, and you see in your overall rankings, overall ownership, is full of chalk. So when I'm talking about a bust rate, I'm saying there's a higher likelihood someone's going to bust in the 8K range. One of Kuchar, Stenson, Scott, Casey, Matsy. Like if all those guys make the cut, then everybody splits the millie because that's pretty much a lineup right there. So when you're putting your super sleeper in with all the 8K guys and you think that that's sneaky, it's really not. Try and exploit the levels that people aren't using, the 9K range with Rose and Bryson or something, or dropping it down or going all the way up top with DJ and Rory. Try and mix it up a little bit if you're going to use a sleeper like that.
No, I agree. So I guess Matsu was a chalk bomb. And not that I care what the chalk bomb is at this point in time, but Matsu's a guy I've been on for a while, obviously. He missed the cut 2 years ago at the Open and absolutely murdered me the way I built that year. What is your thoughts on Matsu, Jeff?
Like you, I've been on him a lot. I'm not on him this time. In terms of throwing him in the lineup, I think it's a serviceable play. I like him as much as people seem to like Stenson, and Stenson's going to be one of the most owned players going. The great thing about Matsu this year is the putting hasn't been an issue at all. But I don't know. We got to just find a way. After it happens, it'll be like, how hasn't this happened more? But I expect him to break through soon enough. I'm not there for it this week.
Tambo, any Matsu love or?
Oh yeah, quite a bit actually. I'm a big advocate of when I tell you when he's over 11K, you don't play him because he's not going to get there. But at 8,500, I mean that's almost the average price on DraftKings. I really don't understand. I didn't get to it at the top of the show, but the Stenson love, like I'm trying to move as much off him, and I know that's not going to be popular. But for Stenson, he's got great approach coming in. What does Decky have? Fantastic approach coming in. Like Jeff just said, Decky's found his putter. Decky has awesome open history as well, or the ability to get it done in majors as a whole. People sometimes forget he's basically another Ricky Fowler. He's the Japanese Ricky Fowler that is looking for that first major. And on top of that, look at the finishes. Stenson's best finish all season on the PGA Tour is an 8th at the RBC Canadian Open, and he did have a 9th, I believe, at the US Open, which is recent. But if you look at Decky, he's got 7th, 6th, 8th at the Players, 9th at the Genesis, 3rd at the Farmers. Like, I still see more upside there. And 8,500 to me, if he's going to be much, like, I think he's almost 10, well, not quite. No, probably 8%. You got him lower than Stenson. I'm going to go with Matsu all day. I love that price on him.
Yeah, I mean, I like both. Obviously, Stenson moved up to number 2 in my final rankings. I trust Stenson off the tee more because of, it gets real shitty out there. He can go 3-wood. Overall game and ceiling, I would lean Matsu. I know Stenson's getting the love because he won the Open. Blah, blah, I get all that, and I'm not saying I'm off him yet. I can't play all of them, so you're gonna have to make a choice between Stenson, Kuchar, Cantley, all those guys, 8,500 and 9,000. Like you said, if you wind up just spreading your ownership out equal over those guys, you're not gaining anything on the field. So you're going to have like the absolute nuts lineup to make any money. And that's just not what I want to rely upon. I want to, I'd rather go day or something like that and take my chances. Let's see. Any Jazz love? I know he's got hyped up a little bit in our little bubble community. I know Mayo liked him. I was on him a little bit. Bucks likes him a lot. I think it was his sleeper on the Smash Squad. Any Jazz love, Tambo?
No. He's a guy that, like I said, will show up in my pool, but in like 2-3 lineups, I went and found some correlation around him and used him in spots like that. But tee time or something, if he fits, I don't get it. Like, it was one showing that he did recently. He crushes the Japanese tour, but we've seen that in the past where, guys go over there, the Catlins and the Hardings of the world, that they pop up every now and again, but they crush over there. It's not even close to field strength than what we're talking about here. And as I've mentioned a million times this week, you go look at the winning Millie Maker lineups. It's not a lot of times you find these super sleepers. I don't even think Jazz showed up at the US Open when he just got 14th, or the PGA. It was one of those two. I keep getting them mixed up. And he showed up there, but it was like he was on the winning lineups on day 3. I don't think he ended up there in the end because there's always somebody else who gets there. So not for me. No.
I'd rather Putnam.
Yeah. I like Putnam. You're good.
Oh, did I come back?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I cut out. I agree. This is a point that, like, when you talk about Jazz, I like him, but you know, if I'm going to pay $300 for a Neiman, who I think has a way higher, I mean, you know, I'd rather pay $300 for Neiman and eat the potential 4 or 5%. Meaning I'd rather go 1.5x on the field on Neiman than try to sneak in a super sleeper, you know, Jazz. I don't mind him. I may still play him, but I agree. Even a Ryan Palmer, who I show that, you know, which I didn't put together. I mean, I know he plays great in the wind and Texas. You know, I watched the deal last night on the Golf Channel. They talked about Texas players being so good at the Open because of, obviously, we played in a lot of wind all the time, and I can vouch for that. But, you know, a guy like that's $100 cheaper that no one may be on outside of our bubble who talked about it. But I didn't realize he's like 3 for 3 when he's qualified for the Open. Now, he hadn't played in 2 years, but even a guy like that who's just got a little bit better pedigree, to your point, and played some of these things, you know, I think a lot of people try to get too cute, and especially majors, you don't have to, because there's so many options to go to. You just got to, you know, build construction wise, and you don't have to try to. And the last thing to kind of back up what you said is, and we preached about this with Doc Redman, was like, when you find that guy, it doesn't mean you got to go like 22% on him. You know, just get your fair share, 6, 7, 8%. You're triple the field and move on. Doesn't mean he's going to, you know, dominate at all. Yeah, I think I heard you when I came back. You said or someone asked about Putnam, and you said you liked him. So Jeff, I'm gonna go to you because I think you're on him. I'm not for sure, but what are your thoughts on John Rahm?
I am. John Rahm and Dustin Johnson are the only 2 players over 10,000 I'll be invested.
I think. I mean, I agree.
I don't play the amount of lineups as you guys, and I don't really like to diversify my horses and roll them. But they're the only 2 guys under 20 to 1 I'd consider putting money on, and they're the only 2 guys over 10, you know, in that top 5 group that I will have in lineups.
Is the temperament a problem with him?
No, I've never. With me, I've always been like, that's never been a problem for me. Especially the fact that he acknowledges that he works on it, and he's 24 freaking years old. And it's all going to happen. Does it happen Sunday? You know, while you're like barbecuing a lunch for your kids? I don't know. But it's going to happen inevitably. And the way he plays so fantastic on links golf and Irish golf, it's hard to discount him. I say this: if it doesn't happen, like I don't know, it might all happen next year. But if next year wants to start early, I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I know that a lot of people forget how young he is because he made it so early, so quick on the tour. Kind of like Spieth. He hadn't won a major yet, but I mean, he did.
Yeah, in Tampa, we even mentioned it. Hideki's freaking 27 years old. It feels like, in terms of how long I've known him, he should own of him and, you know, followed him. It feels like he's like, you know, 30, 31, 32, like Ricky being 30. You know, there was no college. We met him when he was 19. Right. He's literally like, you know, he grows up and in front of everybody. And, you know, some people handle it, you know, differently. But, yeah, to all that. Hideki's 27 years old. Incredible to me.
Tambo, Rahm, you got any Rahm or no?
No, I cut the cord on that early this week. I was really on the fence between him and DJ. And, you know, when on the pod with Kenny, when Ben Coley came on, he had some good points on DJ that I liked, and I was already feeling it. And then I was thinking ownership-wise. But the thing for me on Rahm, what came around, like I said earlier, he's at his ceiling price in a major. He's looking to be a little bit more popular, even more popular than DJ. And then I had one guy based on the number, like the correlation courses that Coley mentioned. He went back and took a bunch of these, you know, Irish, Scottish, links course, opens, all this stuff, and found me the data on field scoring average. And Rahm has actually been his 2 wins, the 17 and the 19 Irish Open. The fields were the scoring was average under par, versus the guys like when Rory wins. You know, Rory won the Irish Open in 16, and he won the Open Championship in 14. It was almost a stroke over par was the average. and at the Irish was a stroke and a half over par. So I'm not saying obviously Rory over him, that's a little more money. I'm just saying Rahm even talked about it in his interview yesterday, saying that the reason that he won at the Irish the other week was because it was calmer conditions. It does not look at this point like he's going to get those calmer conditions, plus the temperament. And that's where I think his open history comes from. Everyone will say it's only 3 years. He's still only, I believe, 24 years old.
Right.
The reason is because these tougher courses, he needs bomb and gouge and go. Even on PGA Tour, he can crush tournaments. He's going to get there. He's learning. Even a guy like JT has said he's struggling with links and he's learning it and he's coming over early to get in the work and do the prep. So we know he's going to be great. But Rahm, I don't see it this week. Easily play DJ over him for $300 more. That's, to me, crazy.
Even his PGA wins, I know he did win at Torrey, but Career Builder, an absolute birdie festival. And, the Zurich team event is,
Glen Abbey.
What about Glen Abbey?
Didn't he win there with the Eagle? Wasn't that one of his?
No, that was Torrey Pines.
Oh, okay. I was thinking I thought it was that Canadian Open when he dropped that Eagle for his first win or whatever off the green.
No, that was Torrey Pines.
Oh, Torrey Pines. You're right.
Yeah. It seems, as we've noted, he seems to love West Coast golf here in North America. That's an interesting point, and I didn't really think about that, but as you were saying it, yes, when he does win, the cup is usually getting filled up by the entire field. He just makes more of them because he's a fucking man.
Right. So, I don't know if you guys heard the comments from Rose that he doesn't like the schedule, the tightness between majors, isn't enough time to get prepared. Feinberg, where are you at on Rose overall? And then Tambo, let's hear your thoughts after Jeff.
I'm not into Rose. That's part of my brand. And when majors come around, guys, I get more stubborn. I stay on brand for majors because, it's like I love them like everybody else. Like my favorite pro teams playing in the playoff games. That's what Sunday majors feel like. So I like to invest in guys I like, and I don't like Justin Rose. So, that's just where I come from. I'm not as scientific as other people.
Yeah, or Tambo?
I wouldn't like his betting number, so I could certainly see that side of it. But for this, not even in the top 5 somehow, but he's in the top 5 in the world. He's pretty decent on links, pretty decent, a little bit of form. But the big thing for me was at the U.S. Open, he was all putter and scrambling, and he's normally known for his irons. So I kind of like him to bounce back. At 9,900, I'm comfortable starting some lineups with him. Talked about it this week. We haven't talked about this guy yet, but Fleetwood, to me, for $200 more and you can get Rose, I'm looking at a guy that actually wins versus a Fleetwood as a guy that can only seem to put together 3 rounds. He's just like a more expensive Ricky as of late, which 2 Ricky truthers on here today. We'll get to him. I like Ricky this week. But
Pat calls him British Ricky.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I mean. It's basically the same thing. And I joked the other day that it's for $400 less, you can get the same guy with now trying to get the same haircut, right? Because he's got a mullet. So it's like you got to look at it that way. And these guys just don't win, and there's winners around them, guys that actually win tournaments. And when you're building lineups from the top down, I don't think these guys are going to be too many of your second guys in. I like just starting a lineup with Rose and then filling up from there, and you might get unique that way.
So everybody says we got 2 Ricky guys on the pod. Now that you mention him, where are you at on Ricky? Does he get his first major?
Go ahead, Jeff.
I got a lot of FOMO action on Ricky. I always do. It's like you're like if it's like I just coming off. Listen, I don't know. I like that he's kind of being under the radar, a forgotten guy. I like that he's kind of like this. Fuck you. This externally, he's sort of like saying he doesn't give a shit anymore. So I kind of back that also, even though he probably gives so many shits. But I think he's going to have a good week. Yeah, he historically bounces back really well. He's one of those players that really enjoys links golf. I think his game is well-rounded. I'm here to tout his horn, but you shouldn't really put much into what I say because it'd be like asking me about the Chargers season. I think they'll win double-digit games.
Yeah.
Tambo, any love? I mean, obviously you're always going to want him to win, but as far as DK,
I think DK wise, this is not Homer shit. This is He's 8%. I mean, I'm with you on that number. I think that's what you got him at, and I think that's what he's going to come in around. This is literally the perfect time for Rory to pop when nobody's on him. But Jeff will know this. You know, we've talked about this forever. What's the original major that everyone said Ricky's set up for?
Always.
It's always the Open.
Okay, sorry to interrupt, but before Ricky went on that fucking run of being awesome in majors like that, like what Finau did, like before that happened, he was supposed to win a British Open. That was like the like, oh my God, this guy's going to contend in every major. Before, like, he sort of became really good at Augusta and was always in the first round leader at the U.S. Open. He was pegged to win the British Open. That was always going to be the spot. And I know it's easy to say because we're here and it's the week of. And don't get me wrong, we get to the freaking Masters and I'm like, it's his spot. Or we get to other places. I'm like, no, it's a Ricky time. But yeah, if that rain and windy gear's got to come on, I think he's smiling while other guys are like, oh man. So
yeah, I wish he was in just a little better form because obviously where he played golf, which is right by me, and Carnoustie, I mean, he knows how to play in the wind, and that's probably why I assume people would say the Open would fit him well. And so if we get this kind of a shit show tournament this week, yeah, he can grind out and it helps him. I don't know if I can get there, like you say, 8%. I mean, if you're building 20 lineups, you know, you put them in 2, and you got, I mean, you're at least a little bit above, but 3 and you're almost double the field. So I'm not against it. He's just that I use elite lightly, but he's like Rahm to me. So if they raise the jug on Sunday, would it shock me? No, because they have the talent. Does everything kind of have to line up? Sure.
Yeah, I mean, he's $1,300 cheaper.
Okay, yes, I'll say that, and you always want the form, but whether you're going to win the Byron Nelson or this, like you have to be on point. You have to do things that maybe your outlier isn't. Woodland sorry for swearing. Woodland chipped and putted.
We can cuss on this one. This one's private.
Woodland, chipped and put his brains out. I'm into Patrick Reed this week. I acknowledge for Patrick Reed to be successful, he's going to need an outlier week off the tee. Like, I don't know if that's going to happen, but I'm not an idiot. I'm self-aware enough to know that, anyone that wins one of these things outside of like those top 4 guys is going to do great things in the area they don't normally do things. Like Matsuyama to win is going to hit 4 like 40 footers over 40. Like, like it's got to happen.
Everyone has to do something special. Yeah. Exactly.
Ricky, he's not playing well, but yes. How do I put this? I'm always trying to get these guys thinking like if they're playing well. It's kind of why and yes, Bryce and NJT are playing well, but when their numbers were so high like 6-7 weeks ago, and now I'm talking betting for a sec, when they weren't playing so well, you just knew these are guys that are like top 8 talents. So if they're playing well, everything can come together for them. Ricky, I get it. The elite term is probably unfair. It didn't happen for him. It didn't happen for the, like the tour or the media wanted, but I still think he's freaking fantastic.
Yeah, but Ricky, he can be like a Phil, right? I mean, he could win 3 majors in the next 2 years, 2.5 years, and all of a sudden when you look at his whole career, it's like, oh, he's pretty damn good. So I brush that stuff off, and I agree with both you guys. And I just need Matsu to hit 4-footers. Fuck 40-footers. If he can just fucking make the 4-footers, we may have a ball game come Sunday. But so kind of I'm gonna answer someone's question because they asked me about RCB, and I'm gonna get your thoughts. They said RCB is way down your ranking. So if you're new, my final thoughts, which came out literally when we went live, I have final rankings in there, and that's where I adjust for anything I want to adjust for, manual adjustment. Up until my final rankings, it's all model data driven. I don't touch anything. So I'll adjust for Euro, web guys, new guys, college guys, young guys, week in and week out. So I adjusted Rafa up because of what he's done on Euro lately and just kind of his link style, along with other guys. And you'll notice in the final rankings, I have little stars by the guys that I put manual adjustments on, which means that they're historical model rankings may not line up with my final, but it's just who I'm on. So that's why RCB is up there. 15% is a little light. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a little heavier. I love him at 15%. I'll go 30, 35% on him and be double the field all day. Tambo, where are you at on RCB?
I'm on him. I'm definitely on him. I think it's like you said, everything leading up. He's just that guy. I don't think he's going to win, but that's not what we need for $7,500. So you're looking for value. You're looking for, again, not getting too cute, just getting the real dudes and differentiating just a little bit elsewhere. RCB's got everything going in, and so I really like him. I think you're good on his number. I think you're light on Webb, right? I think Webb you got here at 16. I think Webb gets up there near that 20, and I think in high stakes, I think Webb is going to be 25 just because he's sort of like, the guy in that range that it's just out there. But then there is a lot of guys around him, right? Leishman, Reed, all those other guys. It's tough to say, but I think RCB's the dude this week for 7,500. They just find a way to fit him in, especially if you're doing just 1 to 3 entries. He's a good guy to fit in and make the lineup work.
I'm all over RCB this week. I think he's going to have a great week. C25 is a very safe prognostication. But I expect him to hang around. Outright's hard for him because if there's like a man chasing him, he seems to be in trouble. But if he wants to be the hunter, maybe he can get hot. But I like him to have a fantastic week.
No, and I agree. At the price, I love him at DK. I'm surprised we'll see what he actually comes in at. I like him even more in a less than 10 under wins type deal because we all know RCB, the guys that have been following him forever, that he can make birdies and bunches, but he can get those boxes on the card real quick. So when he's in the mentality of only having to be 1 or 2 under each day, I think that helps RCB in his game a lot. So as I continue to do that, I continue to raise him up, on that in my exposure type deal. A guy I mentioned earlier, want to get both your thoughts on. Solid history, solid form, solid stats, solid putting. Jason Day, where are you at, Jeff?
I'm not as high on Day this week as some other people, although he is handsomely priced. I'd rather bite on the guys bordering him in Kuchar and Hideki. That's me personally.
Tambo.
All over him. Yeah, I look at it like this, and I wrote it up in my article. I used Scott over Kuchar as sort of the upside versus the cash type play. Both of them can fit in, obviously, and I think they will to most cash lineups. But I think Day, that price seems way off. I don't care about, we talked about this earlier, and someone mentioned in the chat about Rose's irons this season. Well, it's only a small sample size. When you look at this season, they're not playing as much because of the new schedule. In majors, I'm looking at all-around golfers that I know. That's why I watched the game, been watching the game, love the game. If you think about it this way, the Stevie Williams on the bag, the talk about work on lowering his ball flight, 8 for 8 in the Open is his record, and his worst finish in the last 4 years is 27th, pieced in with a 22nd, a 17th, and a 4th. He's got better than that previous in the future. I believe it was St. Andrews or something. And if you look at the guy for 8,600, it just doesn't seem right at all. A guy that would normally easily fit into the 9K range. Love him for GPPs. Think he actually holds the true upside over a guy like Kuchar who might backdoor a top 10.
I like Day. I like him in the spot. I like the number. Have no issue. He moved up a little bit in the rankings. I bet him 2 weeks ago. I released it because the only thing he was doing bad was a short game that day. The rest of his game was coming together, and I was like, all right, well, the water, I just think that if that's what I got to worry about, his short game coming together, then I'm in, right? I have a bet on him. Definitely would play him in a 10+, 20+ lineup build. He's on the bubble. Yeah, he's on the bubble for my 3 lineup type, my main build. Hump, who's your boy? I'm not going to scroll up, so you have to tell me who it is. Can
I just interject for a second?
Yeah.
I thought JB would just like put us on when we were talking. I think the whole thing was covered, and I was banished to my basement to do this, and I had to go get a plug. So I came upstairs, and I spilt like ice cold water on myself as I was walking up my stairs. That's why I looked like such a freak for those people commenting in the chat. Okay, now that that's cleared out of the way, let's move on.
So the next guy, what are your thoughts? We already talked about Rory, but the other two local kind of Lowry and GMAC. Where are you at there, Tambo?
I'm on Lowry over GMAC, and only because I said this too a couple times. I feel like GMAC is the true host. Not to keep bringing up Rory, but I feel like at the start of the season we saw Rory with that cryptic post with the book closed and said that he's got his mind on other things. His mind is clear. We've seen it. He's won the Players. He's won the Canadian Open. Arguably the 5th and 6th major, we might call those. And then now you see him in his interview, and he's saying, look, my mantra has been something like wake up and smell the roses. Like, he's just living the dream. I really think he's going to be able to deal with the pressure. I think GMAC is playing the host. I think it's the host duties that gets affected more. And while all the hoopla, the whole city is around Rory, guys wearing T-shirts with him as the champion on it already, we heard today over there. I get that, but I think Lowry is the guy that's going to come in under the radar. And I don't think, GMAC's going to have huge ownership. It looks like he's not based on your rankings, but I don't know if he's going to show up either. I'm happy to take a little bit of Lowry and just roll with it and see what happens.
I agree. Jeff, do you like GMAC or Lowry at all?
Yeah, I would lean Lowry. I don't really care for either of them. I would probably rather have my money on Leishman or even spend the extra 100 and get Louis. For all the hate on Louis, the blind writing off of Louis, he's never let down in a major. Like, he's never withdrawn from a major. He withdraws from those other events so he could be here and so he can play well. So there's a lot of blind, I don't play him blind. But in the majors, I think he's such a safe guy to play because he doesn't pull that shit in the major. He doesn't. Has he ever?
I agree. I don't think he has. I'm not. Withdrawals don't matter. If that shit happens, you're unlucky. I will never not play a guy because of I mean, if there's nothing telling me he's going to withdraw, I'm not going to make a fucking $100,000 decision on him maybe because he did it 18 months ago. I just that's noise to me. You either like him or you don't. So I agree with you there. That's just people reaching, right? You got to play. You're going to play. A solid question, probably a pretty good one. If you're building one lineup and you had to pick one of these guys, they're $100 apart. You can only play one. Scott or Kuchar. Where do you go, Tambo?
Scott. I wrote that up. That's one of my pivots of the week. And like I said, just because I see the upside, what really scares me is that they're both going to be chalk. I get it, but with someone joked about it with Scott. He can't make 8-footers, but he hits every ball to 8 feet. So we got a problem there, right? If that happens, because he's a super ball striker. But I wrote it up in the article, and it was Memorial that stood out to me when he came. We'll call Cantlay a buzzsaw. Cantlay was incredible that week. But even Jack Nicklaus said to Scott when he came off the course, he shook his hand, grabbed his shoulder, and said, "Sorry, man, you just ran into a buzzsaw." Like, what can you do? He played his heart out. He showed, huge effort in a tough field, tough tournament, and still got it there at 8,800. Don't mind that either, and I think he's going to get some redemption here. So I like him. Again, I just have a feeling Kuchar with that ownership and with the way he's been, even his wins were at the easy courses like Mexico, I think he's going to compete. He's going to make the cut, no doubt, but he's the guy that comes sort of top 20, top 30, and maybe sneaks in a top 10. But what if Scott's in third, right? Or what if Scott wins? I could see it. Yep.
Feinberg, you like either one?
I would lean Kuchar, but I'm very high on both. I don't want that to come off as I have anything negative to say about Scott. I do not.
So a guy that I mean, he kind of goes under the radar, but then he gets talked up at the same time. I know that sounds wrong, but what about Schauffele? I bet Schauffele and Cantlay at 66-1 in December. They're part of my preseason bets. So I have great numbers on both of them. So I don't care if either one of them wins. DK wise only speaking, do you like Schauffele or no?
I do. I mean, you got him at 15%, but here's the thing about him. He's not a guy I can get overweight on. I'm going to be, if he shows up at 15, I'll probably be right there, 12 to 15. He's a guy that's an interesting one from a lineup construction perspective because if you, like you said, you got a great number, 66. Look at the betting market. Clearly, there's a number. Clearly, there's people think he can win this, which we can see him win big tournaments, big time fields, strong fields. So I'm going to start some lineups with him, but I'm also going to get crazy and have sort of some Rose Schauffele's or some Rory Schauffele's and be able to mix it up that way, because then you've got two big time capable winners, and most people are going to have a Rory Cantlay. I can get like a DJ Xander and almost the same money. And then I think I got the upside, and I know I got the ownership leverage. So I'm good with that combination. I'm good with Xander to start some lineups to be unique as well.
Jeff, you like Schauffele?
Yeah, I love him. I'm jealous of your 66-1.
Me too.
I think Tiger not playing for the last month is a concern. Scott, every time he seems to – the thing about Scott is every tournament he plays, there always seems to be a moment where I think, holy shit, he's going to win. He obviously doesn't, because like 8 minutes later he'll miss, 3-jacket from 14 feet or something. But Schauffele, I'm disappointed he hasn't played, but this guy is a killer. He is a killer. He could make a risky DraftKings play, even a risky showdown play, because I've seen him multiple times reference, once he doesn't feel like he can win anymore, he really checks out. He does not count pennies on putts on the weekend. If the leader's at like 13 and he's at 2, he's just like, his mind is ready to go home. But I think he can win this sucker. I really do.
I do too. Construction-wise, I'll have to see if I get there. He'll probably could make my 20-plus lineup no matter what, but to get in that 1 to 3 max lineup build, it's going to be a close call. We'll see. I mean, he's kind of like a mini Brooks in a way. I mean, he plays the harder and the tougher the contest. He, like you just said, Jeff, he seems to show up. I do wonder why he hasn't played in so long, other than he may just be a schedule break because he knows he's about to grind. I'm sure he's going to play here. I'm sure he's going to play the WGC, and then it's the playoffs. So maybe this was his time to say, hey, I'll just hope my game's ready.
Apparently he decommitted before it was even a withdrawal, but apparently he decommitted from Detroit. But I don't have a recollection. But he was planning on playing Detroit and didn't. I think he just took more vacation. But he's a worker. He's a worker. He's grinding. He's getting his game in shape, and he's a killer.
Wasn't somebody posting on their Instagram about being over in France or something? Who was that?
Yeah, whatever. He took a vacation.
Yeah,
should have been on the Ryder Cup team. Should have been France last year. But yeah, whatever. I think the guy's a killer on the golf course. I think he's going to win the biggest of tournaments. I think it's fair when people say him and Rahm are the best, forgetting longevity players on the planet without majors.
Right.
They're both.
So we've been rolling over almost an hour. We're going to hit some final questions. I'm going to give away all the prizes on the night. And then we'll wrap it up. We'll take a break, go build some lineups, do some final research. And then I know Bucks, Tambo, myself will all be in the Slack a little later on as well. Guy we hadn't mentioned yet. So 2 guys we hadn't mentioned yet, and they both have we got the U.S. Open champion and last year's champion, not getting a ton of hype, Molinari and Woodland. Tambo, where are you at on those 2?
Molinari got his soul stolen at the Masters, and I'm not paying $9,400 for that. So I get it. He can show up again and do it, but I'm happy to miss the boat on that one. 7% you got him at. That sort of makes me rethink that a little because, again, he's same in that mix with those other guys right there. But like I said, I like Ricky. So maybe it's the home rimming. We talked the reasons why. I feel like, people might forget what Molinari once was. Obviously, he changed his game last year, but it could be one of those runs that we talked about at the top of the show where a guy gets hot and then, doesn't really come back from it that huge. So $9,400 seems expensive. Woodland, I'm definitely still on. It looks like right now I got about 12%. So again, I hit my ticket, and I know Jeff did too, 150-1. I've been paid on that, man. But I do have another ticket riding, and I know Jeff does as well for this one. So with a nice fat each way. So if he gets there again, I'll be very happy. But I'm not going to go crazy with him on DK. He does have a sneaky good open record, though. actually on his history at the Open. I think he's like 6 for 6 or 7 for 7, and he's been pretty good. So you never know. That low stinger, right? We like him with that low stinger.
Yeah, he worries me with the short game around here, but you never know. Jeff, Molinari, Woodland, any love there?
I'm really happy you asked me about these two players because I have strong opinions on both. I'll start with Molinari. Maybe I'm dead wrong. I think as we stand right now, he's a dead fish. Part of it is what happened to him at the Masters. It sort of sucked the life right out of him. But he's won like 3 or 4 times worldwide in the last year, right? The European players, the Open, Bay Hill, and Quicken Loans. This guy is at the point, guys, in my opinion, me playing amateur psychologist, he is just enjoying the spoils of life, enjoying the spoils of his last year. Yeah. Part of what you said about McDowell for being the host, this guy's being propped up as defending champion golfer of the year. I don't think when he's away from it, he touches a club. I don't. If you sort of pay attention to this guy, he is in a full-on like family mode with, I think, a 3-year-old and maybe another one. I just think that he is so far away from like the mindset of being able to do this. If he gets hot early, I'll be looking like an idiot. On the other side of this thing, guys, the sheer disrespect being shown to Gary Woodland. I'll quickly mention a betting board. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a shit. I don't care. What I know people like the guy. The fact that Matt Wallace would be shorter than him and a handful of players are shorter than him on an outright betting board is mind-boggling to me. The guy's a freaking stud. You mentioned the trash shot. I think, Tug, I think I bet. To me, I think my Pebble bet was to protect this bet.
Right.
Hardest course in the world, win, crazy everything. Oh, I bet the Stinger. Bet Gary Woodland. And then when it's like, oh, Pebble Beach, links, yada, yada. Well, if I bet him at this one, I got to get on the head start and get him at Pebble. It all started for me in the mindset here. Now, granted, winning that U.S. Open, even I joked the morning after. I think our Open Championship bets are dead money now because he's not freaking Brooks Koepka.
Yeah.
So I get it. Maybe that's why the books are pushing him because they're just like, no. That shooting star is not happening. We can post that number. I still think it's very, as people try to chase things from like a Rafa, who I like, but like other guys that are shorter, I think is a complete disgrace. That's DraftKings, I think it's a fantastic play. I think he's going to be a forgotten guy. And even if he didn't win the U.S. Open, there would probably be so much more like hype about him. If he had like a great U.S. Open and finished like 3rd place and Brooks was just amazing, we'd all be so excited for Woodland this week. He actually won the U.S. Open and we seem like we're less excited. I'm not having it. He's in a lot of my lineups.
I like it.
Yeah, I mean he's number 11 in my final model. Low ownership. There's really not a whole lot. I mean, he's played the last 5, maybe more. Made all 5 of the last 5 cuts at the Open. And the 8,200 just seems silly. So I'm like, well, 8%. Yeah, he just I'm in.
What has he done since he went to Detroit? He had that like horrible his first round after winning the major. He like whatever sucked, and then he really fought to try to make the cut. When most guys would just be like, no, I got like more media.
Well, and that was coming off the media tour like crazy, right? He was all over. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm incredibly high on Gary. Do I wish maybe he would have played in like the Scottish or the Irish? Sure. Can his chipping wizardry happen again here?
They're saying you hit your mic, Jeff, and they can't hear you hardly.
Oh shit.
There you go. Now we got you.
Sorry.
There it is. He gets all excited. I love it.
Yeah, I guess on that last rant. No, Woodland and Molinari, like those, you couldn't ask me about 2 guys. I feel like I have very strong opinions about both, and I've said them. So I guess now I'd just be repeating myself.
Yeah, I know there was a slight concern. I think someone just mentioned it about, his wife is 2 weeks away from giving babies, but she said go. Now, I guess she goes in labor Friday.
So me and him. Okay, cool.
There you go. Yeah, you're gonna have babies at the same time.
Okay. Shouldn't that mean he's just playing with like a glow? Like he has 0 shits given. Like if he 3-jacks it, he's still like feeling like king of the world because he's got the babies are coming. I think it's twin girls or something too, right? Like something.
It's twins, yeah.
Yeah, something awesome is coming for him. He's got a major championship. Like Gary's just got a freaking halo. Like, yeah, I don't know. To me, that's a bump. As long as as long as there's not like a text from the wife that like I think you need to like get the plane going. I think it's a big bump.
I think he's a guy that in that range that Tambo's mentioned, the chalky 8,000, and I can get a guy that's just, I mean, if you put the ceiling out there on Sunday, he's just as good as all the other guys we mentioned, and he's 7% or whatever. Yeah, I'm in. I'll do that, and then I get to be a little chalky. I can go Cantley a little more because I got, if I got Cantley and Woodland, I can just build whatever the hell I want. Because
I can't lie. Cantley, Woodland. Again, I don't play the extensive amount of lineups as you guys certainly, or maybe a lot of people listening to this. But Cantley and Woodland are the centerpiece of a lot of what I'm doing here.
Yeah, but there's nothing wrong with it. The Gups point, real quick. I was just gonna say that's exactly how. If you're not going to exploit the ranges by going up to the 9s or down to the 7s more. You mentioned Usti earlier. Great pick. Could easily see him winning or coming top 3. Not easily, but let's just say top 5. I could easily see a top 5, especially in tougher conditions. Woodland, the same. I'm on the big Spieth surprise. No one wants to talk about it, but I think Spieth could. And that cuts out that entire range. And I'm crazy. I got 150 lineups. Like I said, I'm only doing that because if it is a mistake, like it probably is, I'd rather the mistake happen when it could win me $1 million if it goes the other way. So I'm okay to make that error here. But all the Stenson, Kuchar, Scott, Matsey, Casey, you got all the other guys below. Wallace, Woodland, Spieth, Usti. These guys can all compete, and they're in the same range, but everyone's going to have those same 4 guys in the 8K range.
I agree. I'm going to give away some money. So
yeah, let's do it.
JB, make sure you write down just in case people aren't in there. Then I'll get y'all's final thoughts, and we'll wrap it up, and we'll be in Slack later. So the winner of the $250 GC Fantasy Football League contest entry, if you don't know what that is, you can go to contest.gupscorner.com, and you'll see all the contests we do for football. And that's our best, highest gold football contest is JBirdie77 was the review he left on iTunes, and I said our top prize would go to someone that did this.
Nice.
So he gets that. The $125 GC FFL contest is MA76AX. I don't know if that's Twitter or it may be the iTunes as well. And then the $100 Survivor. No. I mean Super 7 is Charlie Don't Surf. You get the $100 Super 7 contest entry.
Throw up a gift, Charlie.
The $50 Survivor pool entry goes to Richard Waters. Richard Waters. The other $50 Survivor pool entry goes to Jay North. And then the annual membership, they may have one or may not. This was the contest I did on Twitter, but we'll hashtag him, is Jacob Hagen. If he's on here, we'll give you the bump. If he's not, he's going to get a free membership. And then lastly, we're giving away 2 $75 DK money. DM JB or myself tonight. We'll shoot you the money for the DK. Is Ryan H. and Travis Mooney. And they were both in here at one point in time tonight. Don't know if they are now. So those are our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 winners. Over $700 between all that. Excited. Appreciate all you guys. We're hitting milestones that we never thought would be possible. We couldn't do it without all the support of the community and family. I've always said since day one, we try to keep it as free as possible, but we have business expense, but no one can argue out there that we don't give back. Outside of giving back to you guys, we give back to the community. We give back to donations. That's our core deal. The capital helps us grow, and that's what we're doing. We have some exciting things coming up for football, so I can't wait to announce all that stuff starting next week after we get through this open grind. Jeff, truly, truly appreciate it. I know we're planning to do a massive, and I've been requested in DM to get a No Holds Bar going.
We're got to do something because shit's heating up, and
it is
depending on how things are at home.
Right.
SummerSlam's 20 minutes down the road from. So I'd like to be there, and I'll have a lot of thoughts on it. So that's heating up. Can I mention one golfer who didn't come up at all, and he probably shouldn't, but
Absolutely.
I have a sneaky suspicion about him. Now, he's in a very popular range around guys that people like and I like a Reed, like a Rafa, like a Snedeker, even a Willett, who I think if this thing plays to that 8 under Rafa number and Danny needs to go 200 a day, he could do it, but that's not who I'm going to say. Thorbjorn Olesen, sneaky playing quite well right now. He is a form guy. We are seeing the form. This is a guy that will make birdies when no one else is. When everyone else is shooting like 2 over, this guy's like 5 under. You've seen it before. I don't know. Now, Josh, you could probably break into my perception. You mentioned a lot of the average strokes to field when, he plays well. But this guy seems to be playing well when everyone else is struggling with conditions. This guy's just pin stalking. I think he's a very sneaky guy. I know his 15th place most recently, but I think he's had a few nice little events lately. I'm into Thunder Bear this week.
Yeah, I don't mind that. 3% too, Gup. 3%.
Truly appreciate it. Well, we will get some no holds bar going soon. We've kind of been putting off to see, wait on the babies to come, your baby to come,
but we got busy. We were trying. These majors kind of
stuck
up on us, and I don't know. There were a lot of things we have been trying, but you're busier than me, and then things just didn't correlate. But we're working on it, and we're gonna make it happen. It's a priority. We've been talking about it. It's gonna happen.
Tambo, final thoughts for you?
No, man, I'm getting excited for it. I'm gonna go after this, have a little supper, and then I'm gonna go build the rest of my lineup. So good luck to everyone. Jeff, thank you for coming on, man. Truly appreciate it. It was a blast. Excited for this week, man. Final major of the decade. Say it again. I'm excited to see what happens here.
Weird, man. After this, we don't get a major till the Masters. No wonder we all are foaming at the mouth. Come Masters.
Don't you? One more quick thing. Don't you guys love that this is the last major now? It couldn't set up any better for the Masters at the beginning and then the champion golfer of the year at the end of the year. It just makes so much more sense.
I'm into it.
As someone, obviously in our business and industry and all that, last year sucked. I ain't gonna lie. Obviously we were in the middle of golf and everything, and then having to fire up football to kind of know, we're still gonna have golf, we're still gonna cover WC and all that, but a little bit of breathing room in between the two is nice. I know it sucks that we got to wait but once football is here, no one's going to be thinking about majors. It'll zoom by, and we'll be talking, Chargers, Sooners, Longhorns, Raven. It won't. It just seems like it's weird now but hell, even next week you got mini camps, Hard Knocks will be coming on. It'll go by. Everybody's not going to worry about it. Last thing for me is just I appreciate everybody. Appreciate both you guys being on. I'm going to take an hour or so to kind of get my thoughts and everything rounded up for my lineup construction. Then I'll be back in the Slack. I will be up all the way until tee time goes off. So any major changes or things that come up, whether I'll talk about in Slack all night. Bucks is landing in San Francisco. He will be in at some point. He didn't know his schedule once he landed. It was a last-minute business deal. But he'll be around. If you have a direct question, obviously DM him. He'll try to hit you up. With that, I appreciate everybody. We'll see you in Slack tonight, and then we will see you. I think I'm going to try to be on the live cut show, call in with Jeff and Pat if I can get away with work. But if not, make sure you join in with Mayo and Feinberg. Check their Twitters. It'll be noon 1-ish. But both of them will tweet out what time it starts. I'll watch it if I'm not able to get into it. But we usually gauge on Thursday, especially with this different time, sort of when that later wave of guys have about 9 holes left. And that's the ideal time. We like to get that sucker started. Also, pray for Martin Keimer in the next 5 hours. All right, guys. Everybody, thank you again. Have a good night. We'll see you in a little bit.
All right.